This week's challenge is a bit of a difficult one for Susie and I because it may lead to us exposing ourselves before the end of the show.
What? You could have phrased that a bit differently.
I could, you're right.
But suffice to say, this week's challenge could end up being the most embarrassing challenge that we have ever done.
Without a doubt. But equally, if you look at it from the positive perspective, you know, it could lead to one of us leaving the Gadget Show and becoming an international rock star. It's a possibility.
I don't think it's a very big possibility. However, this week's challenge was all about us using technology to create the best music track that we could. And it all began just over a week ago in a music shop in London town. We feel as though we need to get something straight right from the start. Yeah. There is no hidden talent here. Neither one of us can sing.
And my heart will go on and on. And while we're on the subject, I think it's also important to be honest about the fact that neither of us can play any musical instrument of any sort.
You see, we can't play a thing. We've got 21p.
So we thought it might be an idea to see if advances in musical technology have reached a point where complete musical idiots like Susie and I could possibly consider being pop stars, celebrity producers or rock gods.
And let's face it, everyone wants to be a pop star, don't they? Stepping out in front of 80,000 fans at Wembley, hitting #1 in the charts, lining your walls with platinum discs.
Well, we can dream.
So, here's the challenge. Using the very latest in technology, we've got to produce the best pop song that we can, with a view to try and launch our very own music careers.
And when the challenge is over, our efforts will be judged by a panel of industry experts.
But to make the whole thing more interesting, Jason and I had to take completely different approaches.
I had to make my track at home using only consumer kit. That is stuff that anyone can buy online or in the shops.
Whereas I could call on the services of one of the best recording studios in the country and use all the professional gizmos and gadgets they've got.
And our first job was to work out exactly what sort of track we should be going for.
Perhaps the biggest revolution in music production recently has been the introduction of music software that has given rise to the bedroom producer. International artists such as Calvin Harris and Milo who've been able to produce their albums and sell them worldwide, all in their home studio. All I've got to do is work out how they do it, and I should have a bit of their success.
Meanwhile, I was heading down the more traditional studio route, and who better to reveal tricks of the trade than the man behind Kylie, Rick Astley and Steps, legendary pop producer Pete Waterman.
I've got to make a single, and I can't sing.
Oh, right, OK. If you're going to try and make a proper pop record, OK, then you have to go to a high-tech studio. A studio comes in that's with professional people. They know how to make the record.
But what about transforming my dodgy singing voice?
It's amazing what you can do with a vocal. You can edit the performance together to pick the good bits and throw the bad bits away, and you can tune it. You've got to find someone who knows all the tricks. The vocal can be tuned so you sound like you're singing in tune, but it cannot give you a performance.
I'm not going to be the next Kylie, am I?
You should be so lucky.
Meanwhile, I was off to get some advice of my own from a successful bedroom producer, Punjabi MC, whose 2003 hit, Mundiam Tabak K, was made in his home studio.
Punjabi, how's it going?
Good.
Great to see you. You're best known for being not just a bedroom or home music producer, but a keen advocate of that way of making music.
You know, you get to spend the time you want to spend on the tracks, you know, as much as you want without paying the cost of a big studio and stuff.
What kind of kit have you got, then? What type of stuff do I need?
One is a pair of good speakers, monitors.
Okay. Yeah.
One is a sound card or a sound converter. And one is as a microphone, a good quality microphone.
Gotcha.
And also a keyboard.
Given that I can't play any instruments, what type of music, what genre of music will be easy for me to make?
House music's perfect. Hip-hop, again, is a very street music that a lot of people just record at home.
Brilliant, because I've been thinking about a kind of 80s synth-based dance tune.
Sounds very achievable.
I decided to check out what tech I could call on at Sofa Sound Studios in West London, where I'd be following in the footsteps of the Sugar Babes and Stereophonics, and I'd also secured the services of top producer Marcus Lancaster.
Everything here is designed to make things sound as good as it possibly can. From the microphone itself, the kind of thing Mariah Carey would be using, to the preamp that powers the microphone. There's a reflection filter that we're using behind the mic itself to completely absorb any unwanted sort of acoustics. And also, I mean, this desk that we're sitting in front of now, it has a sound. When you put something through this desk, the circuits flatten the sound in a very agreeable way.
Oh, it's all very well having a mic that Mariah Carey uses, but that's not going to make me sound like her, is it?
Well, if the worst comes to the worst, there are many, many tricks that we can use.
And I had a feeling we might need them.
Meanwhile, I was busy setting up my home studio, and the first thing I needed was some good software. There are a range of great packages now, from stripped-down software like GarageBand to pro workstations like Cubase and Logic, allowing the home producer to do virtually everything you do in a real studio for a fraction of the price. But I've decided to go for the latest version of Reason, which also allows you to record, sequence and mix your track from scratch, but gives you a huge range of samples and virtual instruments to play with.
And seeing as I'm not going to be using any real instruments, it should offer me everything I need. It's absolutely fantastic. Time I made my track.
So, it was studio day for me, and I'd found a pop tune to sing, courtesy of songwriter Laura Steele.
I'm running, 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 running away.
Help.
Yes, it was time to see just what the studio technology was up against. Did I have the X Factor?
We're going to start recording. Yeah? Here we go.
Those things you told me last night are pushing me away.
That was really good. Do that again. 3, 4.
We're running, 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 running out of time.
Just getting really into it.
Never
Doing the
asked
hands and
you
everything.
where you been.
It's a good sign.
Well, Pete Waterman had told me to really push the performance, and though it may not have been note perfect,
Losing, 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 losing.
this was where studio magic had a part to play.
It's out of tune, that's all it is.
I know it is.
You're probably listening to that going, that's shocking. But the thing is, it can be tuned up.
Really?
Yeah.
Auto-tune software has been used in pop vocal production for many years, and this Melodyne software is the latest and best.
Basically, what you're looking at here is a visual representation of what it is that you've just sung.
So am I the orange?
That's right. The outline there is theoretically where the programme thinks you're trying to pitch. So you can get like a visual representation of how far out you are there.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Which
Yeah.
is not actually that bad. I've seen much, much worse than that. So
The pitch and timing can then be shifted into position to correct any errors, and by duplicating my voice and adding some compression to smooth out the sound, there's already a miraculous improvement.
So now play it back.
I got this feeling and I can't take it anymore.
That's unbelievable. What, have you worked on that 4 minutes?
Yeah, it is amazing.
To make it sound that different within such a small period of time is just incredible.
Meanwhile, I'd built my own basic home studio. Following Punjabi MC's advice, I'd invested in a low-cost keyboard to control the virtual instruments in Reason software, and a set of decent monitors to make sure I'd be hearing true sound. And then I spent many hours getting to grips with my masterpiece. To help me get the best out of my software, I called on my old mate and keen bedroom producer, Pat, and his advice was to get a short sequence right first.
Rather than trying to go for the whole kind of housing estate, I'm creating one single tower block.
Yeah,
Is that a good analogy?
Exactly. Make sure everything fits together first and then create the track.
So I got to work. Having built up a beat on the timeline using Reason's drum sounds, I then selected my favourite 80s synth sounds from my virtual instrument rack and laid them on top.
OK, we've got the basic elements together. It's feeling funky, it's feeling good, but it's missing some vocals.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't sing. OK, I don't want to submit you to that, Pat. I don't want to submit you to that either. What I've come up with is a gadget-inspired solution. Say hello to my talk box. What do you think?
Talk boxes have been around since the 70s and basically allow you to control an instrument by changing the shape of your mouth.
Essentially, the sound comes out of your synthesizer, which for me is my reason. That's the sound of a synth. It goes into this amplifier here, which is less than 100 quid. I got it down the high street. And that amplifier makes the sound louder, pumps it through this box, which is just essentially another speaker, and turns it into air, which ends up in my mouth. And as I move my mouth and talk, without actually saying the words out loud, but just moving my mouth, I can sound like this.
And with the right melody line underneath, I might just have found the perfect hook.
It sounds so good.
The one thing Reason can't do is record live instruments, so I got hold of a decent mic, recorded the line in GarageBand and imported it. Perfect.